You're saying that there is?
There was. Yeah. There was a COLLADA DOM thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I think COLLADA goes a little further than just the DOM. I mean,
Yes.
you have that, but then you also have specific plugins for 3D Studio Max and Maya.
Yeah, that's
right?
great.
So it's both the lower level stuff where you could say interchangeably, okay, FCOLLADA versus the Sony DOM and whatnot, but it also has layers above that that are very specifically targeted towards using OpenCOLLADA within a certain application.
Yeah,
right?
because there was a confusion for developer, and so it's very important to have the bracing from Khronos. But if you get the Sony DOM, there was this automatic code generation from the schema inside. So it's like, if I don't know about this conversation, I see the schema chain and all that, I say, oh, that must be the official thing.
Right.
But when you go a bit deeper, if you have one API that will abstract for you 1.4 and say 1.5, then you say, oh, I will go for that.
Right.
Because it's totally two different classes
Yes.
on the COLLADA Sony DOM. It's a hot nightmare.
Yes, I agree. So, but from your perspective, is going with OpenCOLLADA? Is that?
Yes.
Do you think that is the right thing to do?
Yeah, that would be the action item 0. Set the mind of the community in the right direction, as you said, and see what's going after.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have already started that with the open letter that went out last week, right? It very specifically talks about kickstarting with some initial funding the improvement of those libraries. So the blessing of that has already started. I guess it's just about following that up in a consistent, manner.
And setting out it, making it a bit more explicit.
Right.
What the direction is and what it means and how we're going to engage. Right.
And was that also in the news from the Khronos site in front of page?
Right.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I want to remember during this table that Kickstarter doesn't allow the participation from non-US residents and citizens.
I shouldn't have used that word. I mean, we're trying to revive by providing some helping funding, right?
I mean, we have already mentioned crowdfunding and such, and it popped out to my memory. It's just what I thought to know. There's a lot of people all over the world willing to get COLLADA working as a dream of it.
Yes.
So,
yes, international, absolutely. It wouldn't be US centric.
So if for the crowdfunding part, we're thinking about something where either have different crowdfunding hubs or one worldwide.
Right.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't have any platform in mind when I was just that concept. You know, because like you said, I mean, there's those engineers that I've met in remote parts of the world that if they, if they get going really good on this is going to help them get a job someplace that's going to improve their quality.
The thing is,
so they're there.
The crowdsource funding is a great idea, and if we can pull that off, I think it would really, really help to multiply things. But to me, I would be perfectly happy if there's students from all over the world, Khronos that most people don't even know about, just sit down, fix a bug, do something and commit that. I don't think there is any money that has to change hands to make this successful. If we can get money on top of that, then it would be even better, of course.
With due respect, I mean, students are wonderful programmers, and I've seen some of the results that you get from Google. You need some adult supervision.
Absolutely.
You need a QA organizer function and things like that. There's a lot of aspects to putting together a big software project that you have to replicate.
Yes.
You know, so hitting up, things like, is there a European organization who can fund this, European software? What's the one in Bilbao or DARPA or right? Because there are other entities apart from industry who have an interest in this and making it work and things like that.
That's right.
But just having a bunch of hackers without coordination and a plan and things like that is gonna introduce so many secondary bugs into the system.
Yeah.
No, it needs to be maintained and controlled, obviously. Yeah.
Right, and a hierarchy of check-ins and things like that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, most communities have this peer review mechanism where everybody looks at the code and reviews it and blesses it and says, yes, that's good.
Yeah. Right.
And COLLADA is complex, so we will need people who are expert in COLLADA to help the community, because if we have people willing to implement things, then there are a lot of questions even if you have the spec.
Yes.
That when you want to ask about the spec itself.
Yes.
So some support is really critical to get
Yes.
something right.
Yes. But that's somewhere where the working group members can help too.
Yes,
Because
that's what I had in
right,
mind.
right.
I mean, if Khronos wants to put money, that's great.
Right.
But if Khronos provides some expert to answer a question, it's
Right.
even better
Even
if there is a
better,
community.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Cool. This has been really good. And it's been good enough that I actually feel that we can go away and actually we're going to set up this communication channel and we'll start sending out some draft ideas that begin to adopt all the input we've had here. I can see the PowerPoint slide forming in my mind. And we can send it out, we can continue to refine it, and I think we're tangibly closer to a good first step as a result of this conversation. So, yes?
Yeah, I'm a bit late, so I don't know if the questions are going to ask. But I mean, I guess I'm interested in the WebGL implementation, like generally using COLLADA with WebGL.
Right.
And so one of my questions would be, where do you see the future of COLLADA living in either JSON or binary kind of input format? Because I mean, I think that's kind of the platform for the web.
Yes. But we can. Let's talk about points. We actually covered that. But the bottom line was you probably need both. We need a binary format for compression and streaming and network efficiency. But JSON being used as a container format, perhaps with binary blobs in JSON, something is to be considered. But generally, I didn't hear anyone disagree. We need something, because there's a big gap in the 3D ecosystem right now. So, and COLLADA feeding into that, whatever it ends up being, is obviously a vital piece of the puzzle too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely want to understand it. It's certainly one that exists, so there's no need to recreate it, but we just have to get it in the format that people are kind of using for that different context.
Yes. Cool. Now, I'm interested to talk to you about that.
Yeah, please.
Right. I think we're done. Any other last comments?
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Has Autodesk or Google or even Apple, the ones that have 3D software that would support or they support partial implementation of that, express an interest on any of these efforts?
The Google has. I think you've had some discussions with Autodesk.
Right. I mean, what Autodesk does is they maintain it as part of the FBX SDK. Right. Now that's not as conformant as everyone would like it to be. I think there's probably some strategic issues surrounding that as well, in terms of what Autodesk wants for their own benefit. I think from experience with working with them, they were always relatively open. If specific issues were pointed out to them, they would go and address them. Whether they would be willing to officially adopt OpenCollada, I don't know. That's a question you'd have to ask Autodesk. I'm not sure if they would be willing to take that leap. Right.
So it sounds like they're more than happy to get data coming into their tools of making it work when it's coming in. When it's the other way around, we're having to work with the rest of the world where people seem to be very concerned about it.
Right, and that's been part of the problem. But of course, we can't dictate to any company what they do. They will follow.
Of course.
But I think the best thing we can do as a community is actually have a really good solution that adds value, that lots of people are using, and that will be in Autodesk's commercial interest to use it.
If there is a stable pipeline that ends in the places where it really makes sense, whether it be the web or architectural stuff or CAD stuff, I think that will create the pressure to get anyone who's maybe not strategically behind it as much yet as they ideally would be to do things. I think there was a time where this worked extremely well in COLLADA's life cycle, where a lot of people would come up with implementations just because there was the demand for it. And I think the challenges are still the same. there's still not something that addresses all those needs. And in my mind, COLLADA is still the best candidate to address the needs that are there. So if we get to the point where that's running smoothly again, I think some of those issues are going to solve themselves just because there's enough pressure from the general audience for those companies to make it happen.
It has to be substantial customer pressure, and I speak from a former insider. I used to own DXF and DWG for 6 years inside AutoCAD, and we had IGES, right? And we had an IGES implementation. It was a checkbox item until customers kicked our butt and said, we need IGES to work because it doesn't work, right? Well, IGES had its own faults, but IGES was the precursor, the first ANSI 3D standard.
Yes.
Right? So the commercial pressure has to come from the customers for that.
It always does, right?
Yeah, well, but it has to be very substantial, right? Because it's in their own self-interest not to be able to exchange in Revit or DWG format or DWF format, right? And so they realize that the value of proposition of the software is rooted in those proprietary formats.
Unless we go back to the beginning, we have the healthy competition. We need to make sure that COLLADA is adding value and is evolving in a healthy way. That increases the chance of good things happening.
Yeah.
If you don't achieve that, then you guarantee nothing. So that's why you should Autodesk care.
And they at least do to a certain extent. That's the good news, I think. It's not that there's a wall that is impenetrable.
No, it was never impenetrable, but it was never something that they ever want to give the whole hype.
Sure.
Yeah, they viewed it as like cutting their own throat, and they were not ever prepared to take that as a management.
Sure.
Too.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time, and watch out. Make sure you have your emails on the sign-up sheet. But we'll announce it on the Khronos website. But we'll get in touch with you guys and let you know how to keep involved. Hope you do.